Oh, hi. Hello. Welcome into another edition of Sunday Bloody Sunday, the show you didn't know you need until you got it here on the ESPN College Football YouTube channel. I am Matt Barrie. Cheers. It is our judgment-free zone where we sit and recap the Saturday that was in college football over a Bloody Mary. We can sit with the Bloody Mary and celebrate our win. We can cry about our losses, or we can just yell at each other about everything college football, which is what makes it so great. A couple of ground rules here on Sunday Bloody Sunday. Rule number one, again, is a judgment-free zone. The host is typically going to look and sound tired. I'll get into that in a minute. Number two, whatever you put in your Bloody Marys, that's your business. I want to hear about it. So put it in the comment section here on the video. Hit me up on Instagram at Matt Barrie ESPN. There's two E's in Goose Boys for Matt Barrie ESPN, and on Twitter at Matt Barrie. Love to hear what you guys put in your Bloody Mary as we sit here and watch this together throughout the week and talk about a fun Saturday. There are times when you could be watching a movie, you could be watching a game, an athlete, or whatever the case might be, and know that you're witnessing and watching something special, right? You're sitting there and you're looking at it, you're like, damn, that he's playing well, or she's playing well, or that looks good. That's what I had going today when making week two's Bloody Mary. I saw it and I said, you know what, Matt? We are on the precipice of a Bloody Mary Picasso. It was almost like Beethoven was making my Bloody Mary today. A couple of special reasons why. Lindsay, haircut of the stars, although don't judge her on the hair this morning. I was up late. Again, I'll get into that in a minute. But she knows I love Bloody Marys. And she said, hey, I've got a garden of tomatoes. I was going to make some Bloody Mary mix for my family. Did you want some? So today's elixir, that's homemade Bloody Mary mix. I'm a snob when it comes to the mix. I won't get into the ones I don't like. I'll just tell you the ones that I do like. They've got to be special. Lindsay's is special. Lindsay, thank you for sharing that with me and the beautiful viewer here on Sunday Bloody Sunday. But you know the big thing with the Bloody Mary mix, or the Bloody Mary, at least for me, I've said it before last week, and I'll say it again. It is the toothpick of greatness. This one is special. And the camera from me to you is a little far. So I went an extra step because we need to share this moment together. Here is exactly what went into this week's toothpick of greatness. The most crucial part to Sunday Bloody Sunday, the toothpick of greatness. We are going chicken nugget on the toothpick of greatness today. You heard me correct. Chicken nugget. How many is too many? None. We're going two. We're going to go multiple nugs for the toothpick of greatness. You've got your protein. Need a little bit of spice. I'm going buffalo blue cheese stuffed olive in, peppercini in, and if we have space, which we always have space on the toothpick of greatness, Lindsay, haircut of the stars, made homemade spicy pickles. Yep. She also made the Bloody Mary mix for the week. See the spicy pickle? Spicy or spicy, however you like it. Boom. Look at this piece of art. And voila, here it is. Full disclosure, in a prior moment while Rob, producer of the Stars, and I were talking about today's show, I already ate the pickle. But the pepperoni will get consumed shortly. The chicken nuggets, by the way, what a brilliant idea that was from Mrs. Sunday Bloody Sunday, Ashley. She said, you know what? I think you need nuggets on the Bloody Mary toothpick of greatness. I said, you know what? We'll take anything. It's a no judgment zone. So there you have it. Today's Bloody Mary. Cheers. Sit back, relax, and enjoy yours while we embark on week 2 of the college football season. I said that on Sundays, I'm going to look and sound tired. It's because I am. Saturdays, to peel back the curtain, I do the college football studio stuff with Jesse Palmer, Joey Galloway. We get in there at 11:30 a.m. Our goal is to leave the studio before there's a 2 in front of the a.m. Yeah, that didn't happen last night. We had college football final in such a good spot, and then we got college kickered by BYU Baylor. 10:15 p.m. Eastern start. It was a ranked matchup. It was set to be good.
As you said, Mark, well within his range.
You try and call a timeout here, maybe ice him?
100%.
Oldroyd, they're not going to. and he misses it. He shanked it to the left. He missed it.
Oh, my goodness.
And under a full moon, strange things known to happen.
Oh.
A bewildered fan base, as well as head coach Sataki.
For Jake Oldroyd, you either die a hero or you live long enough to become the villain. I for sure thought they would call a timeout to ice him. They didn't. Maybe he thought they were going to call a timeout too, and he had a practice kick.
Wow.
But wow.
He missed that by a considerable margin when you consider the distance. And a cloak of silence.
We were ready to get college football final in the can, and then we got college kickered. A chance to win it in regulation. It ended up going to double overtime, which meant we left at about 2:30 a.m. I got home at around 2:50, 2:55. Stared at the phone from the post-show adrenaline. Probably didn't get to bed until after 3 a.m. And here we are talking with you beautiful people on a Sunday afternoon. So that's where we are. We can start there. I mean, it's a natural spot. BYU, great win for them at home. Kalani Sitake continues, even though he loses players every year, to make that a solid program. Top 10 upset in Provo. Kind of set the tone and was the nightcap to what was an absolutely drunk, bizarre day in college football. We say this when we talk about the sport, how the transfer portal has really started to affect the game and the rosters and the teams. We're seeing that now with what we saw Saturday with 3 Sun Belt teams. Georgia Southern over Nebraska, Marshall over Notre Dame, and then the big one, Appalachian State over Texas A&M. When you look at those 3 games, to me, that is the transfer portal effect in a nutshell. It's in the days of Sun Belt of yesteryear where they're getting maybe second, third, or fourth athlete in that state that's overlooked by the big programs. You got a guy like Chase Bryce, who's the quarterback of Appalachian State. He played at Clemson. He played at Duke. This guy played at a big program like Clemson, now at Appalachian State, getting another opportunity to start. All he does is goes into College Station and upsets number 6, Jimbo Fisher. Here's what makes that even more remarkable. We talk about paycheck games in college football. That's where a major university in a big program, Alabama, Texas A&M, LSU, they all do it, Georgia, Ohio State. They pay smaller school to come to their stadium and play a game. We call that a paycheck game because typically the team getting paid is going to get bounced and get beaten badly. Appalachian State, Sean Clark and the Mountaineers got paid $1.5 million to go to Texas A&M and beat them. That, to me, is a sign of the times in college football. Not only did Appalachian State get the win, they got the good news afterwards that College Game Day, for the first time in the show's history, will be headed to Boone, North Carolina for the game next week against Troy. So for me, cheers, Appalachian State, for doing what many people didn't think you can do a week after the North Carolina game and go to Texas A&M and beat a top 10 team. I'm going to give you a Matt stat as we continue here on the show. For the first time in the AP poll era, 1936, Nebraska, Notre Dame, Texas A&M all lost on the same Saturday. And you want to talk about dominance in college football? I get it. There are those top 4 or 5 programs. Yesterday, to me, was a great indication of where we're headed in the sport, that because of the changes, that there might be an any given Saturday scenario with some of these smaller programs, and the Sun Belt proves that yesterday. I do want to hit on Notre Dame and Marshall. Charles Huff, head coach, Marshall, comes through the Alabama coaching tree. He was the running backs coach at Alabama, coach Heisman Trophy winners, some of the best running backs, not only in college football, but now in the NFL. Was without their best player yesterday, Rasheen Ali. He's got some stuff he's dealing with. He's not playing for Marshall right now. All they did was go into South Bend and beat Notre Dame. And I want to tread lightly with this next part because I don't want to be overly harsh, but I do want to be overly realistic with Marcus Freeman and the Fighting Irish. He was the popular pick to take over for Brian Kelly, who departed for LSU. The players wanted him. He was the defensive coordinator. They rallied around him, and it really was, and it is a great story. And so from the moment Marcus Freeman was named head coach, there was this sense of optimism. He was young. He gets it. He's the perfect fit, and he still may be. But Marcus Freeman becomes the first coach in Notre Dame history to lose their first 3 games. His first game dates back to the bowl game last year when he was named head coach. And so now this offseason that Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman won, they were front and center in the social media scape. They were making great videos. He was recruiting and had the number 1 ranked recruiting class at one point this summer. All of the momentum was with Notre Dame, yet they hadn't played a game. This is where stuff starts to change. You can be as good as you want in the offseason. You could be undefeated. But the second the games start to get played, that's ultimately where he will be judged as a head coach. And again, I don't want to be harsh because I think the guy is great for the sport. It's a tough job as your first head coaching position. So it'll be interesting to see moving forward now that Notre Dame is 0-2. They were a top 5 team just 3 weeks ago. Now they're not going to be ranked. They've got North Carolina in a couple of weeks. That offseason left fast. That honeymoon in South Bend is over. Something to watch moving forward now, how Notre Dame bounces back after coming into a season. Really, I think they won the offseason with the optimism around Marcus Freeman. Keep an eye on that one as we move forward. Let's stay in the great state of Texas. Let's talk Texas and Alabama. Couple of surprises. One, Vegas had this opening up as a 17.5-point spread. It quickly moved to 20. I think because of that, a la Ohio State and Notre Dame week 1, that a lot of people perhaps were expecting a blowout. I was guilty of being one of them. I want to take it from that spot first. Look at what Sark is doing. Anybody who, for some reason, maybe had any doubts of whether or not this was the guy to take this program back to where Texas should be, I think those questions were answered yesterday in 4 quarters. It was a game looking back. We touched on it on College Football Final. Texas probably should have won. They left a lot of points on the board in the red zone and weren't able to convert into touchdowns. They had to settle for field goals. So that's a game that Texas could have, should have won. Conversely, when you're Alabama and you've got the Heisman Trophy winning Bryce Young, he could be average or below average for 3.5 quarters, which is what we saw. But when it mattered most, great players step up. And that's what Bryce Young did. He avoided the sack, which I still don't know how he got out of that sack. Corner blitz, untouched, had him dead to rights. Bryce Young finds a way to dip underneath it, get to the sideline, set up the game-winning field goal for Reichert. Alabama goes in and gets the win when it looks like they could be in trouble early. The only thing that I'll say about Alabama that was surprising, one, the penalties. Most penalties in the Nick Saban era, with guys like Will Anderson and Dallas Turner, leaders on this team, doing some boneheaded things late. Surprised about that. You know Nick Saban's going to get that cleaned up. But that's the only thing I say surprising about them. Look, Texas is Texas. They've been down. Vegas had this as a 3-touchdown spread. What a game that was, perhaps a bit unexpectedly. But if I'm waking up today, 2 things, a little bit newsy coming out of Texas. Quinn Ewers, starting quarterback. He's going to miss 4 to 5 weeks with a clavicle injury. That just dropped on Sunday. But if I'm a Texas fan, I feel really good about the future because of what we saw against a team that I think everybody believes is the best in the country. That's part 1. And part 2, if you're Nick Saban in Alabama, what's the one thing he says all the time? Media, rat poison, we're the greatest thing ever. We're the greatest team to put on shoulder pads. Well, guess what? You've got 4 quarters of tape of a game that was a 1-point win where you committed 15 penalties. You've got the best of every world if you're Nick Saban. You get the win, you get to coach. I would imagine the Crimson Tide get all that cleaned up and continue to roll on as the season does here going into week 3. Another SEC game I want to touch on. Kentucky and Florida. This was kind of the big board game, if you will. Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, two guys NFL scouts are salivating over because of arm strength and size. Anthony Richardson and Florida get the upset of Utah in week 1. Kentucky just kind of lying in wait for this one. And it didn't live up to the hype in terms of what we saw out of the quarterbacks. What it did do, though, and it kind of cements everything that I say about staying patient with coaches, with Mark Stoops in Kentucky. They waited to see if he could build this program into something. Mind you, it's Kentucky football, not Kentucky basketball. You know, the little thing he and Cal had a few weeks ago about it being a basketball school. Well, right now it's a football school. And Mark Stoops proved that on Saturday. He became, and listen to this now, because this is impressive when you think about what Kentucky football is and who Mark Stoops is. With the win at the Swamp Saturday, Mark Stoops now has 61 wins at Kentucky. If that sounds average, it's way above average at Kentucky. It's the most wins by any head coach in Kentucky football history. It passes Bear Bryant. And so if you need any indication of where this thing is headed with Mark Stoops, they get the win. Will Levis did just enough. Florida perhaps comes back down to earth a little bit, but it was still a good game in that you have an idea of now where the SEC East pecking order is. Florida is going to be there with Billy Napier. I fully believe that. I believe that he's going to get that thing done. But right now in the East, Georgia's the class. Tennessee now gets the win of the Johnny Majors Bowl against Pitt in overtime. Another classic between those two. Josh Heupel has some momentum in Knoxville. So you've got Georgia and then everybody battling for number 2. Is it going to be Tennessee? Is it going to be Kentucky? I know people like what Shane Beamer's doing. They lose to Arkansas and Fayetteville. What's going to happen in the East is going to be something to watch because it's Georgia. I don't think they're going to get pushed around by many in that division now, but looking forward, what's that going to be? We'll have to soon find out. SEC West, Arkansas. They get the win against South Carolina. Look at the West now. Sit back and look at the West. Mississippi State gets a win at Arizona. Fine. It was a late kick, 11 p.m. Eastern. That's a good win for them. LSU, we know, has some issues early on. How are they going to rebound? They got the win yesterday against Southern. No one's surprised about that, but where do they go come SEC time? Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin already messing around with the quarterback situation. So that leaves, after Texas A&M's loss, Arkansas sitting right there. Sam Pittman is perfect for that. They had, if you watch the week 2 preview here on the YouTube channel, they had that big week 1 game against Cincinnati. What were they going to do potentially with all of that adrenaline going to that week 1 game? What were they going to do with an SEC foe and Spencer Rattler coming to town? They look great. I mean, they look really, really good. They look every bit of the part of a contender. It all changes when it comes down to these conference games later in the year and these divisional games at that. But Sam Pittman, cheers to Woo Pig for, again, getting it done when a lot of people pointed to that game and like, no, wait a second. Watch out for Spencer Rattler and USC. I say USC because on that side of the country, East Coast, they're like, well, no, we're South Carolina, we're the USC. I know that because my wife went to USC, and every time I say USC, she thinks it's South Carolina Gamecocks. I'm from the West Coast. I'm from Arizona State. Everybody knows the real USC is the Trojans, and they had an opportunity under Lincoln Riley on ABC to put that star power out there, and they did so at Stanford. Caleb Williams, awesome. Jordan Addison, awesome. If USC, the Trojans, if they can play defense, if they can show up and play defense, offense isn't an issue for them. If they can kind of hang around, they'll get Utah. They'll have an opportunity to prove themselves within the conference. If they can get that thing figured out defensively, I'm not so sure USC can't make noise the rest of the season because they've got the talent. In fact, I'm going to pull up USC's schedule right now. 4 weeks. October 15th, they're at Utah. That's the game. If they get through Utah, they've got Arizona, win, Cal, win, Colorado win. The rivalry game also always gets weird with UCLA. And then the final game, Notre Dame. I mean, we know where Notre Dame is. Watch Utah October 15th. And that goes for Utah too. They lost week 1 against Florida. I don't think the Pac-12 is out of it by any stretch of the imagination. So watch as we go with both of those schools, especially USC, just because of what they did within the transfer portal to make their team competitive this year. So give it to Lincoln Riley, man. I wasn't going to hop all in on that yet, and I probably still won't until I see them play a couple of other games. But USC gets the win 41-28, dominant. They let Stanford kind of creep back into it. But again, Caleb and Addison, they look great. A couple of other things we pass along here on Sunday Bloody Sunday. J.J. McCarthy, now the starting quarterback at Michigan. Jim Harbaugh did to Cade McNamara week 1, the J.J. McCarthy week 2. He said by merit, J.J. has earned the starting job. I think anybody who watches Michigan play when J.J.'s in, they have a little more punch. Cade leads them to a Big Ten championship last year and a playoff berth, but yet it's JJ who wins the job. So watch that moving forward in the next couple of weeks. If there's anything else here on Sunday, Bloody Sunday, that I want to touch on with you, the beautiful people in the college football world. Ohio State, Marvin Harrison Jr., 3 touchdowns. Only the second player in Ohio State history, by the way, to have multiple 3-touchdown games. The other, my guy on Saturdays, Joey Galloway. He did it twice at Ohio State. Here's one. Here's something very Bloody Mary worthy. If I'm Mac Brown, all I do is drink Bloody Marys on Sunday. That's all I do. What is North Carolina doing? Every single week, they bring it to the end and somehow escape. They went to Boone, which, by the way, how good does that win look against App State a week ago? They then go to Georgia State. They had a big lead. They blew it. They had to come back. They get the win. It's kind of rinse and repeat for Mac Brown and North Carolina. Lucky for them, they get the bye week to kind of shore everything up because then they've got Notre Dame. But if you're not watching North Carolina football, you probably should. It's kind of like this Bloody Mary. It looks good. They look good in their uniforms. Then you really get in there and find out some of the ingredients that they have, some of the pepperoncinis. They got some spice on offense. They're a little clunky on defense. That represents the nug, the chicken nugget. So watch North Carolina football. You'll thank me for it later. Oh, because social media got after us on College Football Final. By the way, don't get used to me always addressing things that are said about us on social media. We won't always address them, but I do want to give a lot of credit to 2 teams. One, Washington State. Congratulations, getting the win at Madison. Early kickoff against Wisconsin, not easy to do. Congratulations to Washington State. That's a good win for the Pac-12. In my feel-good story, I think we're going to do this every week here on Sunday Bloody Sunday as we wrap up. We're going to give a feel-good story, a taste-good story, if you will. And the taste-good story from week 2, Lance Leipold in Kansas. They are 2-0. They went into Morgantown and beat West Virginia on their yard. Here's why this one's even more remarkable. West Virginia comes in off the loss to Pitt. They're a 13.5-point favorite at their yard, which they probably should be. Kansas won outright. They won outright and beat Neil Brown, JT Daniels, and a very talented West Virginia team. So it tastes good. Cheers for Kansas. Rock Chalk has every reason to celebrate this week and perhaps imbibe on some Sunday fun. So again, here's how we're going to do it on Sunday Bloody Sunday. You're going to send me some recipes. You're going to send me what you like in your Bloody Mary. We're going to enjoy these each and every Sunday throughout the season. We're going to laugh, cry, hug, smile, whatever your emotions may be, because this college football season, I'm living proof that when you get home at 3 a.m., you've got a range of emotions going through your head of tired, adrenaline. What the hell did I just see at 2:10 a.m.? Oh, wait, Matt, you saw another college kicker. It all bottles into a nice, completely tidy package. So until next week, cheers to Bloody Marys all across the country and to your favorite college football team. I'm Matt Barrie. Thank you for watching another edition of the show you never knew you needed till you had it. Sunday, Bloody Sunday.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.